And hello, and welcome to the Nothing But Juice podcast. My name is But Juice Soup. Today we are going to be talking about Pride Month, a lot of coming out stories, my stories that people have wanted to share with me, and we're just going to dive right into it, so here we go. Juice.
Nothing but juice, baby. Nothing but juice, juice. Nothing but juice, baby. Nothing but juice.
Alrighty, so I just want to start talking about, we're going to start off way in the beginning, from the very time. So, I was always slightly, different, but it was never really, no one could ever really put their finger on it. When I used to date girls, they were always like, I was surprised you liked me because I always thought you were fully gay. And I was never really fully gay, but I realized when I was younger that I didn't, so many people, when they put into gender roles, they were just like, okay, boys like girls, girls like boys. This is how it should be. I grew up in Virginia. This is just how it was. Grew up around a lot of military. So I didn't really feel that way. I kind of loved everyone. I found men attractive. I found women attractive. Basically, I could find something really beautiful in everybody, and I could see myself more or less kind of being with them. So, but when you grow up in a town like that, it's just kind of like, well, why don't you put the guy side to the side, and why don't you just, really just concentrate on women? So I was like, okay. So, I did date a lot of people, and they were like, I didn't think you'd really be into me, and it was kind of strange. In high school, I had experiences, I would say, of just, it's weird to say because they were kind of like things, it's hard to explain. It was like things that were done to me that I did not stop, that I felt guilty about later, but I realized that I wanted. If that makes sense. It was kind of strange like that. It was just experiences like that where I thought this didn't feel wrong. It felt like nice and natural, and it happened. Men, women, basically everybody. It just didn't feel weird. It felt like something that could naturally happen. So, fast forwarding through this, I had all these feelings, and once I met my wife, I just kind of was like, well, I guess that's over. It's done. I met a girl. I like her a lot. It's just, I'll just be married. So, we were like that for a while, about 7 years. And then, a few months ago, we were just sort of walking, and, she was like, do you remember when we went to the Pride Parade, like, years ago, 6 years ago? And I was like, yeah. And she was like, you had fun. I was like, yeah, it's Pride. Everyone has fun. She goes, no, you had, like, fun. And then I was like, when I went to the Pride Parade, I was always afraid of the community because I was afraid of the gatekeeping. I was afraid because I was in a heteronormative relationship, I would be seen as you're trying to, I knew people in college that would tell me, I'm pretending to be gay in order to either be more popular or getting a better standing within a social group. And it always made me feel like very, very icky. So I was like, I thought that the community would hate me because what they saw was I was faking. I'm in a heteronormative relationship. I'm faking so that I could get the clout associated with it. So by that standard, I was like, I should just not say anything. I just shouldn't say anything. I should just leave it out of the way. Just completely abandon the idea. So I went to Pride, and I did have a lot of fun. Like, it was just liberating to, like, have that part of you just out in the open, just whatever. And, you know, I did it under the guise of, well, it's, you know, it's pride. I was just having fun. But it was more than fun. It was liberating, you know? It was just really, really, really nice. And I feel like that was my first real experience with the community, was having everybody gather and just not really care. Because I was always in a place where it mattered and people cared. And there was things said, and it's terrifying to actually admit to yourself that you have the feelings when you know everything around you. And for the people that come out when they are younger and when they are teenagers in a place that I grew up, that takes a bravery I can't even imagine. That takes such a heart and such an acceptance that is absolutely incredible, that I would never be able to match. And so we were walking, and she said, "Are you attracted to men as well as women?" And I was like, "Yeah. I mean, I am." And then I immediately followed up with, "I'm never going to leave you. I'm not going to leave you." She goes, "I don't think you're going to leave me. I don't think you're going to cheat on me." She goes, "I just have one question." She goes, "Is the desire strong enough where you do not feel like you are fulfilled and you would like to go and experience it?" And as I've said in the past, I have experienced it. So I said, no. And I believe that. I am married. I pledged my soul to her. I'm not going to go back on that. For me, I would just rather admit the feelings to myself. I would rather her know that I admit them to myself and that I'm open about it, that I can talk about it, that I can tweet about it, that I can tell my family about it, that it's no longer just this weird thing that I just shove down my own throat, you know? And that's a really powerful feeling. So, I told her, I'm not going to cheat on you. I'm not going to leave you. And she said, to her credit though, she said, "If you feel unfulfilled in the marriage, just know I am a monogamous person. I will leave, but I will still be your best friend. I will still love you. I just would rather have a monogamous relationship." Which I completely agree. She deserves her own happiness and her own comfort within her relationship. You know, that's what a lot of people don't understand. You're like, you're holding me back. She's not holding me back. At that point, I would be holding her back. We would be holding each other back. I don't believe that I need these things in order to be fulfilled. I feel happy. I feel ecstatic. And I love her. So after that kind of happened, we made jokes about it, and it was a little uncomfortable for a couple days because it was like out there, but now it's just like the best feeling in the world is that it's just a part of our life. It just exists now. And it feels really, really nice. So I got a couple stories from other people. This is from a friend of mine. They wrote into the podcast. They said, "This is my coming out story. The first person I ever told was someone I met in 7th grade, but we weren't close. But in 10th grade is when we grew closer, because I reached out to her trying to help her because she was in a toxic relationship. Then one day in math, this point where we were pretty close, the way I came out to her was so stupid, but I couldn't say it up front. So for reference, my name is," I'll just censor his name, "but I told her a quote, 'Take these letters from my name and that's what I am.' His name starts with a B and it has an I in it, so he's bi. I think it took her a second to realize, but then she realized it's spelled bi, and she went crazy. Like in the middle of class, she regathered herself, though, and she is, to this day, my closest friend. I came out to my friend group over a year and a half ago, and we're all part of the LGBTQ plus community, but it was still really hard after 20 minutes. I came out and no one heard me, and it's funny to look back on it now. My one friend heard me and clapped. She was the best, and I then said it again, and this time they heard me, and it went perfectly for about a month or two later. I was planning to come out to the rest of my friends and my parents for weeks. I planned it. It all kind of started with one of my friends calling me out on my Discord status, which was horrible. I'm pretty sure that made my heart rate go up naturally because this was not part of the plan. And I called out my friend who was a big supporter, and also my close friend. I told her, one of my friends, that I was bi, and it went amazingly. Apparently he has a lot of other people that came out to him, so he's a big supporter. And then I thought they should probably come out to my best friend and my best friend for the longest time. So basically what happened was, it was kind of like a slow burn. Came out little by little by little by little. And I feel like that's, I don't want to generalize, but I feel like that feels very normal for some people for it to kind of trickle. They're very lucky. I feel like people are very lucky for having close friends. Because growing up, I never really had friends. I was kind of a loner. So I never really had like a big moment with friends. Like, I went to prom, but it was not really with someone I really liked. They were just like a part of a group I sometimes hang out with. I feel like having that support means the world. Because if they can be excited for your personal moment, I feel like it makes it easier. I feel like it makes it easier for people to kind of then trickle out and tell a little bit more of their family and friends. So, here's another one. This is a friend of mine from Twitter. Said, I'm not out, but I've spoken to a few people about it. I'm pansexual, though I've only had hetero relationships, and I'm in a happy hetero relationship right now. And the soul has always been what gets me. I've considered doing a big come out, but I haven't yet. 2 reasons. I don't really know how to do it. My dad always puts me in the headspace, this is the worst possible outcome. And I don't think many people would really care. I feel like that's what stops a lot of people from really, like, I feel like if you do want to have like a big come out, I feel like you are entitled to it because this is your life. And this is your heart and your soul. You deserve a big come out. But also, I know the feeling of wanting to do something and just knowing that nobody will care. And that's kind of how I felt about the podcast. I was like, I want to do something nice. And I want to do something like, I want to make something that really means a lot to me. But I'm afraid no one's going to give a shit. Like, that's my biggest fear. Is that you go out and you try so hard to do something and you just realize how little everybody else in the world really cares. But that's why you need close friends. That's why you need to talk to people and say, hey, whatever you're planning, even if they're planning something so small, I feel like the more enthusiasm you can give someone who is planning something, the more it motivates them to do better. And I feel like with something as powerful as a coming out, I feel like you think no one's going to care. And then just infectious enthusiasm. Everybody cares. And it's so beautiful, and it's so nice, and it's so wholesome, and everybody's happy. That's kind of how it was for me. I mentioned it on stream, and then I mentioned it on Twitter, and I got nothing but just a complete slew of support. Happy people, supportive people. it really meant the world. So to this person that messaged me, I will make sure to celebrate your pansexuality as you came and celebrated mine. That's important. Another person said, I've never officially come out, but I'm pretty sure my mom knows, and I don't give a crap what my dad thinks. This is, so, with my parents, my sister came out as bisexual, and my mom kind of went with the whole it's a phase thing, which did not endear me to want to tell her. I was like, my dad doesn't really care. He's just, he's just what he is. So, I haven't really officially told them. I think I told my mom. I might have. I don't really know. I didn't do a big family meeting. I'm the kind of person in my family that, I'm there for humor. I'm not really there to make big announcements and big stuff. I just really think that when you break it down, what it breaks down to is everything is your decision how you want to play it. Want to play it big, want to play it small. But the one thing I really want to get at was that you don't need to prove anything to anyone. And if you choose, if you want to say something, if you do say something and announce it, it's for you. It's so that you're saying it out loud. When I was on that walk with my wife, she said, please say it out loud. And I said, I am pansexual. And it felt like energy, like anime style energy kind of came into my body. Because I'd never said it out loud before. It was an incredibly powerful and emotional feeling. I understand the being in a heteronormative relationship and not wanting to say something, because the feeling is not wanting to complicate it. You don't want to complicate the relationship. You don't want to complicate the marriage. You don't want your partner to feel uncomfortable. I didn't want my partner to feel uncomfortable. I love her. I don't want her to have to feel these things, But it's what it was, I couldn't change myself. I just admit it to her and I tell her the truth. The truth being I'm with you. Because I don't really fall in love with looks. A lot of people fall in love with looks, and I think that's really troubling because you'll be in bliss for about 7 months, and then eventually one person brings up, hey, we're going to have to move in together eventually, and then you move in with each other, and then you realize how much you really just hate them. You really just absolutely hate them. They are the worst person in the world. And fall in love with the personality. I fall in love with the soul, man. Multiple chains said fall in love with the personality. I fall in love with the soul. And the type of soul my wife has is one of she's a carer. I can't care for myself. The fact of the matter is I don't like myself. I really don't. I don't like anything about myself. And so what I do is I give all of my energy to other people and projects and just throwing my life at things. She cares for me personally. And that's the type of soul I see. I see someone who will do anything for someone that they care about. And when you see such a beautiful soul, when you see someone that truly has a selfless bone in their body, just no selfishness, no what about me, when you see that, you understand that you need to give your entire being to them as they give it to you. We give each other everything. Our complete all. I don't want to speak to other people's relationships. But when you start playing that tug of war, when you're saying, hey, you know, I'm not getting enough from this relationship, you're not giving me enough, I'm not getting enough, what you're doing is slowly pulling apart from each other. You look out for yourself and you look out for your interests. You know, especially if somebody is gaslighting you or somebody is toxic or abusive, you look out for your own interests. But when the relationship becomes more of, I take from you, you take from me, that's when you got to call it quits. And I would not give up the marriage I have for anything. For my feelings, for just absolutely anything. And the thing I struggle with is I talked to my wife about it. I talked to my therapist about it. Does that invalidate my pansexuality? The fact that I am happily married and will not act on it. Does that invalidate it? Should I not be able to say I have the feelings and I have acted on it in the past, but if I am not in the moment, does that invalidate it? And that's what a lot of people ask. You know, you see online, people are saying, oh, you say you're bi, but you're with a guy or you're with a girl. The fact that you would invalidate someone's sexuality because they have found love, I feel is the mark of a truly miserable person. I think that is entirely, completely miserable. Because what you are saying to them is, if you don't do the thing, you're not it. That personally bothers me. So, yeah. All right. Well, this has been fun. If you guys want to see, next week we're going to be doing another episode. Next week we are going to be doing a fast food tier list. We're going to be doing a fast food tier list with my wifey. Maybe if she decides to join us. It's going to be fast food items. So on Twitter we are going to talk about what fast food items are the best. Just give me whatever fast food item is the best, and we will talk about it. So thank you guys for coming over, and we are going back to our regular stream. And a 3, 2, 1, go.